Welcome to World Epic History. Here, we bring to life the great battles, leaders, and turning points that shaped our world. We journey to June 1942, when the Pacific burned with fire and steel. The Battle of Midway was not just a clash of fleets, it was a struggle for survival. From codebreakers in Hawaii to sailors on the front lines, Midway became the turning point that changed the course of World War II. In June 1942, the world watched as the Pacific burned. The Battle of Midway became the decisive clash between the U.S. Navy and Imperial Japan. Just 6 months after Pearl Harbor, Japan sought to crush American power once and for all. Yet fate, intelligence, and courage converged to change the course of World War II Pacific history. Japan's plan for Midway was bold. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto envisioned a trap to lure the U.S. Navy into destruction. By seizing Midway Atoll, Japan aimed to expand its defensive perimeter and force America to negotiate peace. But what they didn't know was that American codebreakers had already unlocked their intentions. In Hawaii, American intelligence officers at Station Haipo cracked Japan's naval codes. They discovered that AF meant Midway. By faking a water shortage message, the U.S. confirmed Japan's target. Admiral Chester Nimitz, commander of the Pacific Fleet, prepared a daring counterstrike with limited forces, determined to ambush the enemy. The U.S. Navy gathered 3 carriers, USS Enterprise, USS Hornet, and the hastily repaired USS Yorktown. Against Japan's 4 powerful carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, the odds seemed overwhelming. Yet Nimitz trusted in surprise, positioning his fleet northeast of Midway to strike when Japan least expected. On June 4th, Japanese aircraft bombed Midway Island at dawn. American Marines and defenders held their ground, firing anti-aircraft guns into the sky. Although the island was damaged, the airstrips remained operational, allowing Midway's planes to strike back desperately against the approaching Japanese carriers. Midway's bombers launched in waves, but their attacks were uncoordinated. Torpedo planes flew low and slow, becoming easy prey for Japanese Zero fighters. Many American crews never returned, their sacrifice creating chaos, but also pulling Japanese defenses lower, away from the skies above. Their courage paved the way for the decisive strike. At the same time, dive bombers from the Enterprise in Yorktown searched desperately for the Japanese fleet. Running low on fuel, squadrons almost turned back. Then, by chance, they spotted the Japanese carriers, their decks crowded with refueling planes and armed bombs. The opportunity was perfect, the moment history-changing. American dive bombers roared from the sky. In minutes, 3 Japanese carriers, Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu, were struck with deadly precision. Explosions ripped through fuel lines and ammunition stores. Flames engulfed the decks. Japan's pride burned in the Pacific waters. Japanese crews fought to contain the infernos, but the carriers were doomed. Explosions shattered steel, and sailors abandoned ships. Admiral Nagamo, stunned by the sudden disaster, watched as his fleet lost its striking power in a single hour. Only one Japanese carrier remained, Hiryu. Furious and determined, Hiryu launched counterattacks. Its planes struck USS Yorktown, hitting it with bombs and torpedoes. The Yorktown, already wounded from Coral Sea, fought bravely but could not survive. Her crew abandoned ship, yet their sacrifice bought precious time. That afternoon, American dive bombers struck again. Hiryu was found, and like her sisters, she was engulfed in flames. With her loss, Japan's carrier force lay in ruins. 4 mighty ships, the backbone of the Japanese fleet, were gone forever. Japan's dream of destroying the U.S. Navy had collapsed. Admiral Yamamoto, realizing defeat, ordered his fleet to retreat. What was meant to be Japan's decisive blow instead became a crushing setback. For the first time, the Japanese Navy suffered irreversible losses. The battle cost Japan over 3,000 men, 4 carriers, and hundreds of planes. America lost the Yorktown, but its spirit remained unbroken. Midway was not only a victory of arms, but also of intelligence, bravery, and timing. For the U.S. Navy, Midway was redemption after Pearl Harbor. American sailors, aviators, and Marines proved their strength against a formidable enemy. The Pacific, once dominated by Japan, now saw hope for Allied victory. Midway became forever remembered as the turning point. In Washington, President Franklin D. Roosevelt received the news with relief. Midway was more than a battle. It was proof that America could resist Japanese expansion. For the American people, weary after Pearl Harbor, Midway brought renewed confidence that the war in the Pacific could be won. For Japan, the loss was catastrophic. The carriers destroyed at Midway could not be easily replaced. Skilled pilots and crew were gone, their training unmatched. The Imperial Japanese Navy, once the terror of the Pacific, now faced a long war it could no longer dominate. The battle showcased the power of aircraft carriers over battleships. Naval warfare had changed forever. No longer did big guns decide outcomes. Airplanes, launched from carriers, became the new kings of the seas. Midway cemented this transformation in World War II Pacific history. The bravery of torpedo squadrons, though nearly annihilated, became legend. Their sacrifice forced Japanese fighters down low, giving American dive bombers the chance to strike. History remembered these men as heroes whose courage turned the tide of Midway. Midway Island itself became a symbol of resilience. Though battered by bombs, the defenders held firm. Marines, airmen, and civilians on the atoll withstood Japan's assault, proving that even the smallest outpost could shape the fate of nations. Historians later called Midway the most stunning and decisive naval victory in modern history. In just a few days, the balance of the Pacific War shifted from Japan to the United States, setting the stage for a long but winnable struggle. For Admiral Nimitz, Midway was a triumph of preparation, intelligence, and trust in his men. By gambling with limited carriers, he risked everything, but the reward was nothing less than the survival of the Pacific Fleet. Admiral Yamamoto, once confident of Japanese supremacy, now faced a grim reality. His grand strategy had failed. Japan's expansion slowed, and the initiative passed to the United States. Midway shattered the illusion of invincibility. The Battle of Midway echoed beyond the Pacific. Allies across the globe celebrated the news. Britain, China, and Australia saw hope in America's victory. Midway proved Japan could be stopped, giving strength to the Allied cause worldwide. American industry now raced to outbuild Japan. New carriers, planes, and submarines poured from shipyards and factories. Midway gave the United States the breathing space it needed to unleash its industrial might. The lessons of Midway were clear: intelligence, surprise, and air power defying the modern war. Code-breaking, bravery, and timing had achieved what sheer numbers could not. The Pacific would never be the same again. Survivors of the battle carried memories of fire, sacrifice, and triumph. Many never forgot the comrades who did not return. Midway became a solemn reminder of the cost of victory. For Japan, the defeat forced a defensive war. No longer could they expand freely. Instead, they braced for America's relentless advance across the Pacific Islands, a campaign that would cost countless lives on both sides. The courage at Midway inspired generations. Pilots, sailors, and Marines showed that determination and unity could overcome overwhelming odds. Their legacy lived on in naval history, reminding the world that turning points often come from the unlikeliest of moments. Midway's waters remain hallowed ground. Beneath the waves rest the wrecks of carriers and the sailors who went down with them. The ocean preserves their story, silent witnesses to the day the Pacific War turned. The Battle of Midway was not just a clash of fleets. It was a turning point in human history. From the ashes of burning carriers rose a new path to victory. America's triumph at Midway reshaped the Pacific and helped decide the fate of World War II.